Google is now the world's most popular search engine. It has a market share of almost 60%, and Google is still growing.
I'm working on machine translation, where then, so the goal is to translate from one human language into another human language. If right now you have, you want to find out something, and you type a query in Google, and you might not find the answer just because in those languages in which you perform a search and in which you can perform a search, there is just not the answers there. But there might be a Chinese web page which has exactly the thing you're looking for. Right now, you wouldn't find it. And so in order to provide basically access to information that everybody in China can access the English web and the German web, the French web, the Dutch web, all those texts which otherwise are just behind a wall. We can significantly improve over the existing state of the art by learning from large amounts of existing translations. For example, European Union has large amounts of texts which are in all official European Union languages. United Nations have texts which are in all the official United Nations languages. So it is that the computer learns basically those rules automatically from large amounts of data.
That's the reason why you chose to be here? Or?
Right. That's one of the reasons why I chose to be here, because here, for this kind of research, it's a place where you have both the computational resources to be able to use large amounts of data, and you have the large amounts of data to train those systems. Okay. And you have, it's basically part of the core mission of Google to organize the world's information, make it universally accessible and useful. And so machine translation is here an essential goal, so it's just perfect.
Google's huge databases enable it to provide a growing number of services. The more data Google has, the higher the quality of these applications. But that same data contains all the information on the search behavior of Google users. How does this affect their privacy? Ian Brown is a member of the Open Rights Group, a British organisation aimed at protecting private information in the digital era.
I think Google's aim to make all of the public information in the world available is admirable, and I certainly use it many times a day myself. A lot of people on the internet do. I think they need to be much more careful about personal information. You know, I don't want all of my personal information made available to the UK government, for example, and that's why increasingly I am careful about how I use Google, and I certainly wouldn't use services like Google Mail, where they are storing a lot of sensitive information in my email messages, and I think I'm increasingly concerned about searching for sensitive information using Google.
Are you?
Because I wouldn't want a lifelong record in Google's vast database of, say, when I was younger, if I'd been interested in sexually transmitted diseases, which a lot of university students are, for example. That isn't something you necessarily want to live with you for the rest of your life.
How are you going to convince me to trust you?
We're clear in our privacy policy that we aren't retaining your search information because we want to, say, profile more about you. We're retaining the search information we retain, we do for quality purposes. We review it only in aggregate. We do aggregate computations to try and understand how to make searches better. So, for example, if you search for football and click on result number 3, we want to use that information. So next time we take result number 3 and make it number 1. And so we have to have some retainage in that way in order to better the quality of the search experience you have on Google. So I think that, when you're asking questions of trust, a lot of times you're asking questions around motivation. the person that you're trusting, what are they motivated to do? And we've been pretty clear that our motivations in keeping the search information that we keep is, in fact, to improve end-user quality.
But does that require retaining it for an indefinite period of time? I mean, you could also retain it for like 30 days or...
Interestingly, we found that we've had some innovations that have required us to retain the information for longer than 30 days. So, for example, the Google Spell Checker, our Did You Mean feature that appears on Google, has been built using long periods of data around someone issuing a query and then issuing another corrected query right after that, and us learning those corrections. And it actually takes more than 30 days worth of data to build the world-class spell corrector that we have.
Google aren't being careful enough, I don't think, to anonymize information they store about you. They've said publicly that they do keep records of the search terms that come from your computer, linked to the internet address of your computer, and potentially that can be linked back to you, especially if you sign up for Google services like Gmail. So I don't think that they can honestly say that the potential isn't there for them to misuse some of this information. We've seen in recent months that it's not just Google's decision either. Even if Google was the entirely pure company that they claim, you have other interested parties. For example, the US government demanded last year that Google hand over information on what people were searching for. So even if Google aren't abusing personal information, that doesn't stop other people coming in and trying to get access to that information.
How can you take fears away? This is a big brother company.
I guess I just don't agree, and I don't think of it that way.
Making all the world's information available. Why would one want to do that in the end?
Well, you can take a philosophical approach, you can take a business approach. I think if you go back in history, and if you look at every culture, every society, the availability of information has always made that society develop at a faster pace, whether it's getting them to be more innovative, whether it's getting them to be more informed and therefore more enterprising, whether it's the feeling of sort of liberation for them. So information has always had a role in people being liberated, innovative, a more vibrant society. What's very fascinating is so far we've had one approach to information, which is, dear consumer, pay attention, I'm going to give you some information. And if you don't log into your TV at 8 p.m. tonight, you're going to miss that information forever. Or dear consumer, pay attention, tomorrow morning's newspaper is going to talk about how fantastic it is to travel to Spain. Well, consumers are not like that. We don't like to be programmed. You and I want it when we want it.
The opportunity of our time is to have all the published works of humankind accessible to everybody. We have the technology of storage, we have the networking to be able to give distribution, and we have the political will to live in an open society. The idea of having universal access to all knowledge is within our grasp. We could build the Library of Alexandria and not just have all the great works in one place, but to make it accessible to anybody all over the world.